Ramblin' Man Moto here. And as Ross Perot used to say, here's a deal. So I've been going through different windscreen experiments. I recorded some of the footage, but rather than bore you with the whole long videos out on my test rides, maybe I'll show a little here in the background. But basically what I was finding was this is the Clearview Shield 12.5 with the vent that I had been using. And really, the only reason I didn't like this windscreen was just some slight buffeting on the back of the head, but most of the time fine. But was this vent in the middle? As lame as a reason is that partially why I didn't like it was it messes with the recording of the videos. You know, not only for the videos I want to show you guys, but if something's happening where I need to use this almost like a dash cam, it's right in the line of sight of the road. Sometimes you can see over the screen, around the screen, through the vents a little bit, but I just wish it was clear and no vent. And I experimented with moving my camera up higher on the helmet, and that created a little extra weight, but really just got in my way of opening and closing my vent and using the modular helmet. I think the vent was the bigger issue. So over this winter break and the past few weeks, what I did was I ordered the next size up because I thought with my measurements I could go the next size up, which was 14, from Clearview without the vent. And it took me about 60 seconds of riding to realize that that windscreen was right at my eyesight, my line of sight. I could see over it if I sat ramrod straight, which was not comfortable. And of course, otherwise you're looking through it. And so unfortunately, I had to ship it back. They do let you do like a 30-day trial as long as you leave the protective cover on it. And the other dumb thing I realized after the fact was when I first bought this Indian Springfield, it had a very darkly tinted windscreen that came with it that we all agreed when I shared videos with it, that was too tall. Well, I did the measurements. It was the same size as that one, which is really odd because when I sat on that one, I had to look through it. I don't know if the changes I made to this, I was waiting until I had finished deciding on my final seat setup before I started messing with the windscreen. So I do have the Mean City Cycle double memory foam in there. So I'm thinking that's why it's at eyesight rather than when I had the stock one, it came where I was looking through it. So anyhow, after I sent back the 14-inch screen, I said, well, I like this screen at 12.5. I wish it was 13, maybe even 13.5, but they don't make them like that. And I didn't want to bother getting cut holes and try to cut it myself or have someone else cut it. So what I did was I ordered the same screen without the vent. And I took it on a test ride, and I got on I-64, got up to 80, 85 miles an hour. But really, even at 55, I could notice, man, I was having a lot of head buffeting, which surprised me because I didn't remember that with this. And I've said before, sometimes you forget what version 1.0 was like, and then you got version 1.2 and 1.3, or you jump to version 2.0 or something different. And with the time it takes to get these shipped back and forth, taking them off, taking them on, you kind of forget what it was like. But I didn't remember that amount of head buffeting. So when I took the 12-inch screen out on I-64 with no vent, when I got up to even just 65 to 70, my head was bouncing so much that I couldn't really read exit signs clearly. It looked like there was 2 or 3 of them. And it was uncomfortable. And like the main reason I think I'm going to have a windscreen is for longer rides. And I just didn't think it was going to work. I tried it with 2 different rides, getting up to 65 to 80. I could start to feel the head buffeting after 55, but really bad on the interstate, which was interesting because it's the same size screen. The only difference being the vent. So I brought that screen back home. I swapped it out immediately back with the one with the vent so that I could get right back on the road and test it. What I found there was I went right back out on I-64, 80. I actually got up to much faster than 80. And there was a little bit of buffeting, of course, but nothing like without the vent. And I noticed, you know, this has a vent that closes and opens in like 4 different positions. If I closed it all the way, it came close to duplicating what it felt like with no vent. My head was shaking, but when I opened the vent all the way, their idea behind it is to allow some air to hit you. And if I played around with the vent, you could certainly feel it going down. Like one notch open was hitting up here. The next notch open was hitting me in the face a little bit here with the wind. And all the way was better. But even at 90 miles an hour, and maybe a little more that I got up to briefly, there was no head shaking to the degree like it was with no vent. So I think I'm sticking with this one. Clearview Shields has this flared extra space. It does get very hot behind a windscreen. And right now we're in this transition period where it might be 60 to 70 high degree temps, and then much cooler in the evening. Part of me, when I also went back out on the road while I was testing this with no windscreen at all, and I got up to 80 miles an hour on I-64. And, if rocks are coming your way or bugs, you're taking them rather than the windscreen. It's much cooler. But of course, you're also feeling like you're holding on to the bike a little bit when you're going that fast. And that if I had a backrest on, maybe I would have felt different. But I didn't. I was riding without the backrest. And you almost feel like you're holding on, right? And it's pushing you back. Whereas once you put this on, that feeling's gone. But then you almost have no air. And I've seen some people online describe their setup, including on this bike in particular. I found a thread where people will describe and say, well, they found the perfect pocket with no air bothering them with air buffeting and with wind buffeting. And I'm not in that camp. I've got it down to a tolerable level that 55 and under is pretty comfortable. 65 to 80, some buffeting, but it's a better trade-off versus having the wind hit you all day on a long trip. One guy in that forum said something like, in all his years of riding, he just quit using a windshield because all of them produced wind buffeting at whatever number he picked. I'll see if I can look it up. I think it was 80 miles an hour or more was his number. I'm a little bit in that camp of debating whether I would ride with this shield at all or not. As it gets warmer, being behind this on any windscreen is going to remove the air hitting you, so you're going to get hotter behind the windshield. It's amazing how effective it is for that. Amazing to me as a newbie how effective it is at that, because you're thinking you're out exposed. Certainly air would be reaching you, but it gets hot really quick behind the windscreen. The vent on the Clearview Shield helps a little bit with that. I'm going to be removing the soft lowers probably today. At night and the late afternoon when the sun goes down, whatever, it might still help to have these on there. So maybe one more week I might leave them on there. That'll help some of the airflow. Some people debate these fork mounted lowers and which brands they like. This is the one that was on my Super Chief. So anyhow, that is, I'll turn that way a little bit. I think the bike looks good with or without a windscreen, so it's really more for function. I think it almost looks better without it, to be honest. And but if I start taking longer trips, like full day, multi-day trips out of state, which I hope to do this year, I'm on the fence because I think the windscreen's going to make it more tolerable. If it's raining, just the air hitting you all day. Most of my trips should be back roads rather than interstate, but inevitably you're going to want to make up some time by getting on the interstate, I'm thinking. So, and that's where this would help, I think. But I did just want to share my whole experience of kind of what I've gone through and been testing over the past number of weeks. Shout out to Clearview Shields. They've made it about as simple as it can be. They ship it to you. It has this protective covering over it. As long as you don't remove that, you can test ride it. But I think they only give you 30 days. One of the other brands was something I've been working on. They pretty much just give you as much as you want as long as you don't remove the protective cover. But I emailed them back and said, hey, I want to return it. And then they send you a UPS shipping label. So at least you're benefiting from their economies of scale. Because if we had to pay for that just going up there, it'd probably be double. So it's good. At least they let you kind of use their rate and then you ship it to them, and I got the refund. So I did that with the 14 inch. And now I'm going to do it with the 12-inch with no vent. And they've already shipped me the label, so I'm going to do that this week. So that's it. My summary of what I'm going to do with the windscreen. I'm sticking with Clearview Shield, 12-inch screen with the vent is what I have found has worked for me. All right. See you on the road.